Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A hat made with the fur of a beaver, or similar material. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. The soft brown fur of the beaver. Work hard on something. A native or resident of Oregon. A full beard. A movable piece of armor on a medieval helmet used to protect the lower face. Large semi-aquatic rodent with webbed hind feet and a broad flat tail. Construct complex dams and underwater lodges. A shaker with a perforated top for sprinkling powdered sugar. A hat made with the fur of a beaver, or similar material. A multiple star with 6 components. Second brightest in Gemini, close to Pollux. A pivoting roller attached to the bottom of furniture or trucks or portable machines to make them movable. Type genus of the Castoridae, beavers. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. Cymbals that are operated by a foot pedal. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. Chimney consisting of a metal pipe of large diameter that is used to connect a stove to a flue. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. A man's hat with a tall crown, usually covered with silk or with beaver fur. The person who is most outstanding or excellent, someone who tops all others. An exceedingly good witticism that surpasses all that have gone before. A woman's short coat. A worker who cuts tops off, of trees or vegetables, etc. A worker who makes or adds the top to something. The soft brown fur of the beaver. Work hard on something. A native or resident of Oregon. A hat made of fur. Headdress that protects the head from bad weather, has shaped crown and usually a brim. An informal term for a person's role. He took off his politician's hat and talked frankly. Furnish with a hat. Put on or wear a hat. He was unsuitably hatted. Clothing that is designed for men to wear. Headdress that protects the head from bad weather, has shaped crown and usually a brim. Either of 2 folds of skin that can be moved to cover or open the eye. His lids would stay open no longer. A movable top or cover, hinged or separate, for closing the opening at the top of a box, chest, jar, pan, etc. He raised the piano lid. Headdress that protects the head from bad weather, has shaped crown and usually a brim. The dressed hairy coat of a mammal. A garment made of animal pelts or synthetic fur. Dense coat of fine silky hairs on mammals, e.g., cat or seal or weasel. Attack and bombard with or as if with missiles. Pelt the speaker with questions. The dressed hairy coat of a mammal. Rain heavily. Body covering of a living animal. cast, hurl, or throw repeatedly with some missile. They pelted each other with snowballs. Make uniform. Work the clay until it is soft. Perform as expected when applied. This old radio doesn't work anymore. Be employed. Is your husband working again? Applying the mind to learning and understanding a subject, especially by reading. Mastering a second language requires a lot of work. Have and exert influence or effect. The artist's work influenced the young painter. Make something, usually for a specific function. Cause to happen or to occur as a consequence. I cannot work a miracle. The occupation for which you are paid. A lot of people are out of work. Cause to work. He is working his servants hard. Find the solution to a problem or question, or understand the meaning of. This unpleasant situation isn't going to work itself out. A product produced or accomplished through the effort or activity or agency of a person or thing. It is not regarded as one of his more memorable works. Have an effect or outcome, often the one desired or expected. The voting process doesn't work as well as people thought. Use or manipulate to one's advantage. She knows how to work the system. Proceed along a path. Work one's way through the crowd. Prepare for crops. Shape, form, or improve a material. Work stone into tools. A place where work is done. He arrived at work early today. Cause to undergo fermentation. The vintner worked the wine in big oak vats. The total output of a writer or artist, or a substantial part of it. Picasso's work can be divided into periods. Give a workout to. My personal trainer works me hard. Go sour or spoil. The wine worked. Activity directed toward making or doing something. She checked several points needing further work. Arrive at a certain condition through repeated motion. The stitches of the hem worked loose after she wore the skirt many times. Behave in a certain way when handled. This dough does not work easily. Cause to operate or function. This pilot works the controls. Exert oneself by doing mental or physical work for a purpose or out of necessity. I will work hard to improve my grades. Gratify and charm, usually in order to influence. The political candidate worked the crowds. Move in an agitated manner. His fingers worked with tension. Move into or onto. Work the raisins into the dough. Operate in a certain place, area, or specialty. She works the nightclubs. Operate in or through. Physics. A manifestation of energy. The transfer of energy from one physical system to another expressed as the product of a force and the distance through which it moves a body in the direction of that force. Work equals force times distance. Proceed towards a goal or along a path or through an activity. Work your way through every problem or task. Provoke or excite. The rock musician worked the crowd of young girls into a frenzy. The English language is used in the United States. A native or inhabitant of a North American or Central American or South American country. A native or inhabitant of the United States. Of or relating to the United States of America or its people or language or culture. Of or relating to or characteristic of the continents and islands of the Americas. The hair growing on the lower part of a man's face. The hair growing on the lower part of a man's face. Tuft of strong filaments by which e.g. a muscle makes itself fast to a fixed surface. The hair growing on the lower part of a man's face. A person who diverts suspicion from someone, especially a woman who accompanies a male homosexual in order to conceal his homosexuality. A tuft or growth of hairs or bristles on certain plants such as iris or grasses. Go along the rim, like a beard around the chin. Houses bearded the top of the heights. Hairy growth on or near the face of certain mammals. Specially hardened steel plate used to protect fortifications or vehicles from enemy fire. Specially hardened steel plate used to protect fortifications or vehicles from enemy fire. Specially hardened steel plate used to protect fortifications or vehicles from enemy fire. Specially hardened steel plate used to protect fortifications or vehicles from enemy fire. Specially hardened steel plate used to protect fortifications or vehicles from enemy fire. Relatively small placental mammals having a single pair of constantly growing incisor teeth specialized for gnawing. Relatively small placental mammals having a single pair of constantly growing incisor teeth specialized for gnawing.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.